Hello there! Once again, I'd like to talk to you about The Witcher, but this time from a slightly different angle. As you have probably heard, the new expansion will take Geralt to a completely new location. So I did my digging in the original books, and I made a list of things that we already know about the upcoming location, Toussaint. Blood and Wine will take us to Toussaint, a duchy under the rule of Anna Henrietta. Toussaint is located south of all the locations we saw in the game, far behind the river Yaruga. When it comes to places worth mentioning in the duchy, there's river Saint-Retour, the watchtower called Vedette on the Cervantay Pass, the forest of Caed-Mirkvit where druids of Angron reside, and the village that in free translation you might call Foxholes, that apparently has pots growing on its fields. And don't ask me why. Theoretically, Toussaint lies within the area of Nilfgaardian influence, but it is an independent duchy, and the Duchess refers to the Emperor as her cousin. If nothing changed since the time Geralt was visiting the place in the books, we won't see any sign of war in Toussaint. What is Toussaint really like? Let's see what the sorceress Fringilla Vigo has to say about the duchy. Toussaint is commonly perceived as a duchy taken straight from a fairy tale, funny and unreal, and because of the prevalent production of wine, considered to be permanently tipsy and drunk happy. Because of that, it's not treated seriously by anyone, but at the same time it has some privileges. After all, it gives us wine, and without wine, as everyone obviously knows, there is no life. That's why there's no agents, spies, or secret services in Toussaint. And you don't need an army. All it takes is a bunch of knights errant with one eye covered. Nobody will attack Toussaint. Something very similar about the duchy said Vattier de Rideau, who is actually an agent of Nilfgaardian secret services and who chose this place for a spy-like meeting in the books for exactly these reasons. This means that, despite all the fairy tale-ness and prevalent lack of worry, it doesn't take much to find some kind of plot or intrigue between two bottles of a wonderful wine from Castle Ravello. Who exactly could stop that from happening? Toussaint has no secret service, and the only army are the knights errants, who originally are a little bit dumb. You'll see that for yourself in the game. People of Toussaint, before they focused exclusively on making wines, tried to make their living with mining as well. In time, however, making wine became the main industry in the duchy, so all the mines were abandoned, although some of them were changed into huge cellars where the vineyards held their supplies before the merchants came to pick them up. Does this mean anything for Geralt? Well, as it was said in the books, this place is perfect for all kinds of monsters. When the Witcher spent his time in Toussaint before and he encountered a creature called Kored, he found out that all kinds of monsters came to the duchy to spend the winter, since there were no Witchers there. It probably won't be any different now, and we will get to visit all kinds of dungeons and cellars and meet new species of monsters that are not only extremely rare, but might even be unknown to Geralt. The capital of Toussaint is Beauclair. That is a palace and its surrounding city. Beauclair was built by elves a long time ago, and then it was adapted for humans by humans, with the famous architect Peter Pharamond upgrading the palace. The elvish origin of the palace is of importance here. In the book The Lady of the Lake, the sorceress Vigo used a secret room that held a magical communication device to contact the Lodge of Sorceresses. When that happened, it was mentioned that people residing here are not necessarily aware of the palace's secret rooms, and since the elves departed, only sorcerers knew of such places. Theoretically, this gives us a lot of space to hide dangerous secrets within the palace itself, and Geralt might need to uncover at least some of them. The palace also holds the most extensive and maybe the biggest library of the known world. I already mentioned the person ruling the country, the Duchess Anna Henrietta, who was often referred to as the Little Weasel by a man called Julian Alfred Pancratz de Lettenhove. Who is that mysterious person? Well, none other but the beloved or hated Dandelion himself. Dandelion was the Duchess's lover, who almost lost his head at the hand of an executioner the last time he was in the duchy and cheated on Anna Henrietta. The Duchess had a change of heart and she let Dandelion go, but he was banished from Toussaint. However, it is almost certain that the Ladyman will have a very important role to play during the new adventure, and I won't be surprised if, once again, we will have to save the poet from certain death. That's not all when it comes to returning characters, although now we're going deep into speculations with nothing yet confirmed. You remember the art that Cedeprojekt Red shared a few weeks back, the one that will be the cover of the expansion? You can see Geralt in there sitting on a throne with a cup of wine in his hand, and behind him you can see a vampire. And I'm probably voicing hopes of a huge number of Witcher fans when I say that we all want to see a guy named Emil Regis Rohelek Tersif Godefroy, one of the higher vampires who was also Geralt's friend. And although the events in the Styga castle point to the fact that there is no way Regis could return, I still hope that the vampire could somehow survive that. If so, we can definitely see him wandering the walls of the palace, hand by hand with a certain succubus that was the reason Geralt came back to his job as the Witcher when he was previously in Toussaint. When Geralt was in Beauclair previously, he was in the middle of looking for Ciri. If Hearts of Stone is to be any indication, it shouldn't be much different now. I assume that the second expansion will be constructed the same way the first was, which means that we can play it both after finishing the storyline and while still looking for Ciri. Now there's a small spoiler from Hearts of Stone coming, so be aware of that. When we chose a certain path of actions, Gaunter Odim could give us a clue regarding Ciri as a reward for helping him. The history would repeat itself if Geralt was to find new information regarding his young protégé in Toussaint. Beauclair, they say, is nothing more but feasts, balls, carousing, drinking, and love stories. A man does nothing but gets dumber and wastes time instead of thinking about trade. And you need to think of what's really important, of your goal that's on the horizon, non-stop, without having your mind drift away to any bullcrap. Then, and only then, a man can achieve his goal. I really hope that this video helps you find out more about the upcoming location in the expansion Blood and Wine. We don't know yet when the release date will be announced, but I think it's not far away. Thank you for listening. Take care.